the last person to see Madeline alive. Her mother's live-in boyfriend, Stephan Sterns. He claimed he dropped her off at school that morning, but surveillance footage told a different story. The timeline didn't add up. The school's cameras never caught her entering the building. And as detectives dug deeper, they uncovered something far more sinister: disturbing photos on Sterns' phone, staged evidence, and a shocking secret Madeline had been too afraid to share. This is the heartbreaking case of Madeline Soto, a girl failed by the very people who should have protected her. By the end of this video, you'll understand how the system missed the red flags, why the boyfriend story fell apart, and what her community is demanding in her name. Stay with us. This is one story you won't forget. Madeline Soto wasn't just another missing child statistic, she was a vibrant 13-year-old with her whole life ahead of her. Those who knew her at Hunters Creek Middle School in Kissimmee described her as the quiet girl who always had her nose in a book, the kind of kid who'd stop to pet stray animals on her way home. Her social media showed the typical interests of any young teen: posts about her favorite songs, silly selfies with friends, and that universal middle school obsession with skincare routines. Teachers remembered her as thoughtful, the type of student who'd stay after class to ask thoughtful questions about science projects. But behind closed doors, Madeline's home life told a different story. She lived with her mother Jen and Jen's boyfriend Stephan Sterns in a modest Orlando apartment. While neighbors saw what appeared to be a normal blended family, weekend barbecues, the occasional movie night, there were whispers of trouble. Classmates would later recall how Madeline sometimes showed up to school wearing long sleeves even in Florida's sweltering heat, how she'd flinch when someone moved too suddenly near her. Most chilling of all were the hints Madeline herself dropped in the weeks before her disappearance. She'd confided to a close friend that she didn't feel safe at home anymore, but clammed up when pressed for details. Another friend remembered her joking darkly that, "If anything happens to me, check his phone," a statement that would take on horrifying meaning later. These red flags went unnoticed by adults, lost in the chaos of teenage drama and the assumption that kids exaggerate. What makes Madeline's story so tragic is how many opportunities there were to intervene. The straight-A student who loved volunteering at animal shelters. The girl who dreamed of becoming a veterinarian to help creatures who couldn't speak for themselves. In the end, she became exactly what she wanted to protect, a voiceless victim failed by the system meant to keep her safe. The morning of February 26, 2024 started like any other Monday in the Soto household. According to initial reports, Stephan Sterns, the live-in boyfriend of Madeline's mother Jen, claimed he drove Madeline to school around 8 a.m. as usual. He told police he dropped her off near Hunters Creek Middle School, close enough that she could walk the rest of the way. But when first period began and Madeline's seat remained empty, her teachers grew concerned. By lunchtime, school administrators called Jen Soto. What happened next would expose gaping holes in Sterns' story. Police quickly noticed inconsistencies. Surveillance footage from nearby businesses showed Sterns' car never stopped near the school that morning. The route he described didn't match traffic camera timestamps. Most damning of all, school security cameras captured every student entering the building that day, but Madeline never appeared. When detectives pressed Sterns for details, his timeline kept shifting. First he said he watched Madeline walk toward campus. Then he claimed she might have met up with friends. His nervous behavior raised red flags. Meanwhile, Madeline's friends revealed disturbing details. Several classmates said she'd been acting strangely for weeks, jumping at sudden noises, withdrawing from social activities. One friend recalled Madeline whispering, "If I go missing, don't believe what they tell you," during a sleepover just days earlier. As search teams combed the neighborhood, they made a chilling discovery near the Soto apartment complex: Madeline's backpack, carefully placed behind a dumpster as if staged. The zipper was broken, the contents suspiciously rearranged. Every clue pointed to one terrifying conclusion: this wasn't a runaway case. Someone had made Madeline disappear. As detectives dug deeper into Madeline Soto's disappearance, the case took increasingly disturbing turns. Their first breakthrough came when examining Stephan Sterns' cell phone. Digital forensics allegedly uncovered deleted photos of Madeline, images no adult should have of a child, taken without her knowledge. The time stamps showed these were captured weeks before her disappearance, suggesting long-term predatory behavior. Police then obtained surveillance footage from the Soto apartment complex that contradicted Sterns' entire timeline. The videos showed Madeline entering Sterns' car that morning looking distressed, but never arriving at school. Even more chilling, footage from later that day showed Sterns making multiple trips to dumpsters behind nearby shopping plazas, carrying large trash bags. When investigators searched these locations, they found traces of biological material that would later be matched to Madeline. The most heartbreaking discovery came from Madeline's own devices. Her search history revealed she had been secretly researching how to report child abuse in Florida. Friends came forward with messages Madeline had sent, including one that read, "If something happens to me, it wasn't an accident." Teachers admitted noticing unexplained bruises but assumed they were from playground incidents. As the evidence mounted, Sterns was arrested on unrelated charges of possession of child sexual abuse material, a tactical move by prosecutors to keep him jailed while building their murder case. Search dogs eventually led investigators to a wooded area near the apartment, where Madeline's body was found on March 1. The medical examiner would later determine she had been deceased since the morning of her disappearance. The exact time Sterns claimed to have dropped her at school alive. The evidence against Stephan Sterns became so overwhelming that authorities moved quickly to take him into custody. On March 2, 2024, just 4 days after Madeline was reported missing, Sterns was arrested on charges of possession of child sexual abuse material. This initial charge gave prosecutors crucial time to build their murder case while keeping Sterns behind bars. As the investigation progressed, the true horror of Madeline's final days came to light. Forensic analysis showed Sterns had allegedly been monitoring Madeline's online activity for months, even installing spyware on her phone. Text messages revealed he had been manipulating her, alternating between threats and gifts to maintain control. The most damning evidence came from his own devices, search history showing he researched things like, "How long does DNA evidence last?" and "Florida missing person laws." In the weeks before Madeline disappeared, on March 15, Sterns was formally charged with first-degree murder, aggravated child abuse, and tampering with evidence. During the bond hearing, prosecutors presented security footage showing Sterns disposing of items in multiple locations across Orange County. They argued this demonstrated a calculated effort to conceal the crime. The judge agreed, calling Sterns an extreme danger to the community, and ordering him held without bail. Madeline's mother Jen Soto sat stoically through these proceedings, her face a mask of grief. In a shocking twist, investigators revealed they were also looking into whether Jen may have ignored warning signs about Sterns' behavior. Friends came forward saying they had expressed concerns about Sterns' inappropriate interactions with Madeline months before her death, but Jen allegedly dismissed them as misunderstandings. The arrest brought little comfort to Madeline's devastated community. Vigils sprang up across Orlando, with hundreds of mourners leaving stuffed animals and candles near her school. Students painted rocks with messages like, "Justice for Maddie," that still dot the campus today. But beneath the grief simmered growing anger. How could this happen right under everyone's noses? Teachers beat themselves up for missing signs. Neighbors recalled seeing Madeline walking alone at odd hours but assumed her parents knew. Even law enforcement faced tough questions. Why hadn't Child Protective Services intervened when Sterns' criminal history included domestic violence charges in another state? The hardest truth was that Madeline had tried to tell people in her own way. That dark joke about, "check his phone." She'd made similar comments to 3 different friends. Some unsettling questions remain unanswered. Why did Sterns wait nearly 6 hours to report Madeline missing when he supposedly noticed her absence at school? What exactly did her mother know, and when? Most haunting of all, was there something anyone could have done to prevent this? The case sparked immediate changes locally. Florida fast-tracked Madeline's law requiring schools to report unexplained absences within 2 hours. Counseling services were expanded at her school. But for Madeline's closest friends, no reform will bring back the girl who shared her snacks with stray dogs and dreamed of healing animals. As one classmate put it at a memorial service, We failed her when she was alive. The least we can do is remember her truth now. That truth, of a bright child betrayed by the adults around her, is what keeps this case from fading into just another tragic headline. Madeline Soto's story forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about how society fails vulnerable children. This wasn't just about one predator, it was about all the missed opportunities to protect her. The teacher who noticed bruises but didn't report. The neighbor who saw her wandering alone at night but didn't ask questions. The system that didn't connect the dots about Sterns' violent past. Yet in this darkness, there are lessons that could save other children. Florida's new laws about school absence reporting show change is possible. The classmates who came forward with Madeline's warnings prove young voices matter. Most importantly, this case reminds us that child predators often hide in plain sight. They're rarely strangers, but people we know and even trust. If Madeline's story has taught us anything, it's that silence kills. So here's what you can do right now. First, hit like to keep this video circulating. Awareness creates change. Second, subscribe because we cover cases that expose these systemic failures. But most importantly, if you ever suspect a child is in danger, trust that instinct. Make that call to child services or police. You might feel like you're overreacting, but Madeline's case proves it's better to be wrong than to regret staying silent. Rest in peace, Madeline. Your name won't be forgotten, and your story will keep other children safer. For everyone watching, be the adult Madeline needed. The world needs more people willing to speak up.